Hey everyone, Kevin here. So I'm going to get right to it, and I'm sorry if this bursts any bubbles out there, but knowing articulate storyline does not make you an ID. I feel that way too many people have thrown around the idea of just learning storyline to people transitioning into ID, and that has led to this disproportionate number of those people believing that once they know it, then they can sell themselves as instructional designers, which just isn't the case. I tell people to learn it as well, but that's just because it's the industry standard. When it comes down to it, Storyline, Rise, Captivate, Vyond, etc. are all just authoring tools. Anyone can learn them with enough practice through extension courses, academies, and YouTube videos. Just like how anyone can learn PowerPoint given enough time, which is ironically what Storyline essentially is, just way more complicated than that. The key is knowing why we use them and everything else associated with being an instructional designer too, outside of just course development. You need to learn the theory and processes behind being an ID before really creating these authoring tools. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn both at the same time or dabble around in Storyline prior to creating a portfolio. You certainly can. The problem comes from the fact that an ID's job goes beyond creating trainings in these authoring tools. You need to learn andragogical principles, how to efficiently conduct needs analyses, manage projects, stakeholder management, how to work with subject matter experts, LMS management, ADDIE, SAM, graphic design, and a multitude of other things I'm not even naming. Just like how teaching isn't just a person standing in front of a classroom talking to students. Again, anyone can do that. The nuance is far more complicated. But is learning storyline still a must when you're first starting out? Yes, absolutely. And like I said, it's just an industry standard. The issue is that it has been overemphasized to new IDs and has led many to become incredibly frustrated that they aren't being taken seriously in the role. Now, as I said on a recent episode, many jobs can in fact be learned while you're doing them, and an ID's job is no different. There is no conceivable way that you'll learn every single thing you might need before getting your first job. That's just not going to happen. Every company uses a different LMS. Every company has a different organizational structure with who you report to. Every company has different project management software. Every company will communicate differently with things like Slack and Zoom. Most importantly, though, not every company uses storyline either. That's where this misconception will bite you in the ass later. Companies often only use one main authoring tool, and then a variety of smaller ones to fill things out. For instance, in my last role, we almost exclusively used Rise, which, though is also part of the Articulate suite, it's still an entirely different tool. Afterwards, we sprinkled in Vyond, Camtasia, and Canva in there when needed, albeit rather sparingly. If I went in only knowing storyline, though, I would have struggled more than I did get settled. Now, once you learn one authoring tool, it's really not that hard to learn more of them, but just knowing storyline won't really be enough to cover your bases, particularly if you need to create videos or images from scratch, or even just edit them more extensively than you can from within storyline itself. Instructional design is a much more complicated field than it looks from the surface for career changers. Teachers, most of all, like me, choose ID because it's a natural outgrowth of what we did in the classroom. And though that may be true in many ways, there's far more to it than that. There's a lot of hard skills you need to develop to be an ID, and I feel the phrase just learn storyline has been thrown around way too much. It paints a fuzzy and inaccurate picture of what IDs do and gives people a false sense of what they need to do to prepare, not to mention the constant professional development you do along the way. Learn storyline, absolutely. But don't think of it as the only thing you need to learn, and you'll be off to be a much better start than those who don't do any other upskilling. But that's it for now. Thanks for listening, and as always, I'm here to help if you ever need it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, it helps tremendously. See you next time.